Hey everyone, Michelle Lynn here. Super excited for my next video. Firstly, I want to shout out to my new subscribers, Lloyd and Tyler. Thank you so much for subscribing. And this video is off the back of my previous video, which was about how to practice your set. So in the comment section, Kid and Vicky wanted to know when to add new jokes and when you should change your setup. And I really appreciate these questions, so keep them coming. And I know that I said I was going to analyze my first San Francisco set, which I still have to do, but I said I was going to get a video up before the weekend, so I got to do this now because I'm going to be busy this weekend. So the question is, how often should you change your set, and when should you add new jokes in, and how should you add new jokes in? So I first want to talk about when to change your set and like when to change your jokes. And for me, I change my jokes when number one, I've already done the jokes that in my set for a really long time and I know that they work, and I've thought of a new joke. So there's no point, like, I mean, you can change your set if you want to, but you don't have a joke. I don't know how that would work. Like, but for me, I only change it when I know that I've got like a new joke that I want to try. So that's a contributing factor. And two, I feel like my style has changed a lot over the time that I've been a comedian. So when I first started, I did a lot of jokes about, I don't know, growing up in Sydney and being Asian in Sydney, um, and like, I don't know, living there, and just general observations about Sydney life. But then as I developed as a comedian, I wanted to do more jokes. Like, I didn't want to just talk about being Asian. I wanted to talk about different aspects of my life. Or when I was traveling, then I had a lot of new opportunities, so I want to talk about that a little bit. So those sorts of things also changed my sets and like the types of jokes that I wanted to do. um so I hope that makes sense in when you should change your jokes, because I definitely feel like I'm such a better comedian, not just in terms of like my performance, but like the content of my material. I think when you start, and I don't know, I'm just speaking from my experience, but because I was an Asian comedian, I felt like, oh, this is like an easy angle and it's very familiar to people, so it'll be easy for me to get laughs like that. But then as I developed, I was like, you know what, I don't want to just be an Asian comedian that just makes fun of Asian people, or I don't know, does this very kind of niche humor, because it's overplayed. It's like so overdone. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I did it, but you got to start somewhere. So whatever, I don't do it anymore. So good for me. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was um, how you like the reasons to do a gig. So the first reason you want to do a gig is for exposure, right? You want to get your name out there. So in that instance, you want to be funny. You shouldn't be trying to add in a lot of new jokes into any important gigs because they're not guaranteed and you don't know if they're going to work. But the second reason to do gigs is just because you want practice. You want stage time, you want to practice your material. And if you're going to an open mic night, then you can pretty much add in as many new jokes as you want, right? So just keep in mind those two reasons and think about your set. Like, if it's going to be an important gig, don't put it too many new jokes in. Whereas if it's going to be a gig where it's not that important, it's just a casual gig, then feel free to add in more jokes and give yourself more flexibility in terms of being funny. Okay, so so going through like how to add in new jokes, I think I talked about this. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I have another video which is like when to retire a joke, or how do you know if a joke is good or not. So if you want more reference material, go check out that video. But basically, the reason I know not to add in like a ton of new jokes at once is because I bombed really hard one time, and it's because I had like all these new jokes related to going to the gym, and I was like writing them, and I was like, yes, this is gonna be so good. I was just writing all these jokes down, which all connected to each other, but they were all new. I'd never tested them before. And then I got up stage, and then I said the first joke, and it wasn't funny. And then the second joke was leading from the first joke, so I said that joke, and it wasn't funny. And it was just like 7 minutes of like not funny material about going to the gym. And that's how I learned, like, okay, so I probably shouldn't like add in too many new jokes into one set if I haven't tested them before that are all linked together, because it's probably not going to go very well. So that's rule number one. Don't add in too many new jokes all in the same space of time, I suppose. Like, if you want to add in new jokes, maybe pepper them through your performance, but break them up with jokes that you know work. Secondly, like, I wouldn't suggest starting with a new joke. Like, I wouldn't open your set with a new joke. I would do a joke that works, and then maybe another joke that works, and then once the audience is warmed up a little bit, then you can add in a new joke and then do a joke that works, and make sure you have a backup joke that is good, so that if the first joke bombs, then you can throw in the backup joke and then get the audience up a little bit as well. And also, I never do like a completely new joke. I've always tested it. I have to test it between like five, get five of your most honest friends or people at work or whatever and test the joke out. And if it doesn't pass that litmus test, then I usually don't say it on stage. So it's already been through like one sort of test stage before it hits the stage. No pun intended. Okay, so, so as I was saying before, like if you're going to an open mic night, then a lot of people go there to try new jokes because the audience has low expectations. Like the night's usually free, so they can't complain, and you can feel free to try as many new jokes as you want in that period. The only thing with putting in too many new jokes and testing them at an open mic night is that I feel like you might not get an accurate response if the first couple of new jokes were not funny, because if the audience is already like not laughing, and then you've got some new jokes and half of them are good and half of them are not, then it's not really a good test for the audience if they're already like in a bad mood because the first couple of jokes were bad. So that's the only caution I would provide, is that if you're going to try a bunch of new jokes and the first half of new jokes are not very good but the second half is, then you might not know that the second half is good because the audience is already like kind of not on your side from the first half. So that's why I would only try to test like maybe two or three new jokes at a time. And don't just test it at one place and be like, okay, nobody laughed at that one place, that's it. You know, test it at a couple of different locations and tweak the wording and stuff like that, and then you can see if the joke concept is good but the wording wasn't good, or if the concept and the wording is just like terrible and you should just like, you know, abandon that joke altogether. Okay, and then I think that was pretty much it. So I think I covered like how to add new jokes, so you should pepper them through your routine. How many to add? I would add like two or three, and I would make sure that, yeah, you don't do a whole chunk of new jokes at the same time. When to change your jokes, like if you think of a new joke, or if you want to, you know, I don't know, test your comedy style, or just like when you have the opportunity, when it's not like a super important gig and you're not gonna kick yourself by being like, oh, why don't I try all these new jokes? If you think the gig's not that important and you don't mind if you bomb a little bit, then go for it. Just try those new jokes. And I think that was it. I tried to do this video under 5 minutes, so I went a little bit over, but I hope that helps. Please keep coming with your questions. I really appreciate it. It gives me like lots of inspiration for new videos to make. And that's all from me. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.